Welcome in, folks, to the World of Football. I am your host, Adam Snow. Joining me is the founder of the World of Football and my father, Randy Snow. And today we'll be recapping Week 5 of the inaugural season of Arena Football 1. Dad, how are you doing?
Great. I'm ready to talk some more arena football again. Another great weekend of AF1 action.
Was it great, though? We might differ on the great part. Depends on what team you're rooting for and which games you watch, because, woof, this was a weekend that had a lot of different things going on, and it might not have been all good. We'll get to it. But
Okay.
before we talk about the Week 5 slate of games, I'd like to remind you all out there to like and comment and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It certainly helps us all out. We are currently sitting at 1,179 YouTube subscribers. Little bump from last week, so thank you all of you who are now joining us on the channel. So please tell a friend, help us grow. It would be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, guys, let's jump into the first game of the weekend as Week 5 of the AF1 action kicked off Saturday night as the Southwest Kansas Storm went into Salina to take on the Salina Liberty in a barn burner of a game that saw this one ending up with a 22-20 final. Dad, what was this game?
Well, I don't know. It was a strange one. Salina scored first, and they missed the extra point, so they were up 6-0. And then they were up 6-2 after a safety in the first quarter. Both teams tried to run the ball in the first half, and neither team could do anything. Is that really arena football? To me, it's not.
You know, some red flags went up at halftime. I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game, and we got some other stuff to talk about. But real quick, at halftime, they're recapping the game, and they're like, neither team could run the ball real effectively in this game. And I found myself looking around. My girlfriend was like, who are you looking at? I'm like, anybody willing to listen to this? Because I'm just going to vent right now. Fiance. She'd kill me if she heard me say the other word. Fiance. It's arena football. You should be throwing the ball. This running,
yes.
The fact that there is no run game is like, I know that the teams are, the league has evolved and, teams are trying to incorporate more run, but how's that working out for everybody? Look at this final score. I'm not saying it cannot work. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's not really arena football when the main crux of your argument at halftime is, why can neither team run the ball? I was dumbfounded when I heard that, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah, it's in arena football. It should be pass first and run maybe a few times here and there. And that's it. But I mean, that's the arena football that we remember. But oh well.
I get that it's an evolving thing, and these coaches and teams that have come from other leagues have got their own styles and whatever. But I think we're at a point right now. We've talked about the shotgun versus under center debate. We're not going to go into that again. We could probably talk for a while about that. But it's just, are these guys going to all figure out that, hey, to play this style of game, you gotta, go through the air and get a kicker. The kicker's the other big thing too. We'll get to the kicker thing in a couple games. But it's just, man, we're 6 weeks into the season technically, and some of these teams are still figuring out, or not figuring out that the run is not where it's at.
Right. Yeah, well, the Storm led 12-6 at halftime, and then in the third quarter, there was an issue with a dead iPad that the replay officials were using. Sometime in the third quarter, and you and I both saw that. They got it fixed fairly quickly. I guess they brought a new one in or whatever.
For a while waiting.
Yeah, but they did get it fixed, and they made the call, whatever. Let's see, the Storm led 19-6 at the end of the third quarter. By scoring 19 unanswered points. And then Salina finally switched quarterbacks in the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes to go. New quarterback, Javen Kilgo, replaced Jamario Benson and did better, but it was just too little too late. And, Southwest Kansas comes out with a 22-20 win.
Yeah, so some stats from this game for the victors. The now 3-2 Southwest Kansas Storm. Jalen Morton was 17-35, 219 yards through the air, which shocked me because I don't know where those balls were going. He had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He also had 7 rushes for 23 yards. Notable receiver for the Storm offense, Demarius Washington had 10 catches for 144 yards and 2 touchdown catches. So he had himself a day. For the 0-4 Salina Liberty, you talked about him. First, Rio Benson, 9 of 19 for 105 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He also rushed the ball 11 times, 26 yards. And then Javen Clago, 4 of 9 for 57 yards, a touchdown. He had 12 rushes for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And becoming one of my favorite players to talk about now, a guy I always like a great player on a not so great team, and that's Malik Honeycutt. Has been a guy we've brought up for a couple weeks now. I like watching this guy play. He had 6 catches for 86 yards, 2 touchdown catches. So Salina's got themselves a really good wide receiver there. They just gotta get it consistent around him. It's the problem right now. But some of my
Throw the ball more.
There you go. It was some of my bullet points from the game. Boring. Holy smokes. I tuned into this, 6-2, and I'm sorry. I had to flip out of this game after a while. I was like, I need action. I need something that this game is not providing. And I would jump, and it just so happened Saturday night. Also, our local hockey team ended up winning a national championship, so I was also
Yes, they did.
flipping to that. But this isn't the world of hockey, so we won't go into that. Go Broncos. But was it good offense, or sorry, was it good defense, or was it just sloppy offenses in this game?
I don't know. I think the defenses played much better than the offenses did. Had they tried to throw the ball more, it seemed like when they were trying to throw it, they couldn't do much either. So I don't know if trying to throw it more would have worked in this game. I just think both offenses were good, whether they were trying to run or trying to pass, and the defenses were the story in this game.
Yeah, and through all the Liberties games, pretty much, maybe not so much their first game, but they've been a first half team. They come out, they look great, they play a good team tough, and then they completely collapse in the second half. Here, solid start first quarter. You got a 6-2 lead, but then they don't score any points in between the second and third quarter. Nothing. Goose eggs. Then in the fourth quarter, they outscore the Storm 14-3. You lose by 2 points. So, Salina, I mean, they're just so close. I thought this was going to be their get-right game, their game to get their victory and get it in the win column, but they just come up short in a very ugly, disgusting game. Something I want to bring up also. So, Southwest Kansas is averaging 31 points per game this season, and Salina is averaging 24 points per game. We've been criticizing these two teams for their run-first mentality. And I'm sorry, in this league, that those points per game averages are not going to cut it. I mean, sure, there's outlying games where they score more, but you average it all out, it's not great. They really got to change something, because those in this league with a couple of the teams we're going to talk about later, 3 even probably, that doesn't cut it.
Yep.
And then the broadcast as a whole, I don't know. They had a different score bug, kind of like they did last year when they were streaming games on YouTube. I don't know. I was just like, that's weird that they don't have like the standard kind of score bug that we've kind of been seeing lately. But I don't know if it's because they were just leaving it to the in-house crew or what. I don't know. I just thought it was weird. I didn't hate it, but it was something I noticed that different score bug. I don't know why they haven't gotten a uniform score bug for all these teams yet. Just something I noticed. But anything else about this game before we move on?
Nope. Let's go on to the next one.
Okie dokie. All right, before we get to the next one, guys, we're going to take just a moment here to do a little pluggy plug. If you guys are enjoying what you're seeing, we'd like to let you guys know that we do a weekly podcast. It's called This Week in the World of Football. Dad and I do it together. We've been doing it for a lot of episodes now. What are some of the stories we're going to be talking about on this week's show?
Well, so far for this week's show, I've got Joe Flacco at the age of 40 signing with the Cleveland Browns. He was with them 2 years ago, and now he's back with the Browns. Another story, the CFL Grey Cup generated $122 million for the local economy up in Vancouver. We added to some of that. We bought a lot of things when we were there at the Grey Cup Festival this year.
A lot of loony up there, yep.
I did, yeah. And finally, the National Arena League's YouTube page has been shut down for copyright issues. It seems like it's a lot of the reasons why some of these leagues are going away from YouTube, because they get caught with the music that's playing in the stadium and
hey,
whatever.
let's save that for the discussion on the 389th edition of This Week in the World of Football, which drops every single Tuesday right here on YouTube or wherever good podcasts can be found. All right, now let's move into the Sunday games. We had a pair of them, but they're playing simultaneously. We're going to start with the game that was on Evergreen now, which saw the Corpus Christi Tritons handle the Washington Wolfpack 61-21. This was a game I honestly didn't catch in real time because I was too busy watching the next game, which we'll get to in a bit. But here, I know you got some notes on this game. I saw a little bit of highlights and went kind of back through and scrubbed through the game a little bit. But it started off with the Wolfpack surprising everybody. They jumped out to a 15-0 lead.
Yeah, they jumped out to a 15-0 lead in the first quarter. Corpus Christi led 27-15 at halftime. So, Corpus Christi gets 15. Washington gets 20.
Washington had 15. Corpus
Washington
Christi
had 15.
rattled off.
Yep,
27 unanswered.
Yep, and then Washington scored a touchdown early in the third, and then was shut out the rest of the game. The whole second half. This is the stat that I found. There were 11 turnovers by Washington in this game. You're not going to win with that. And there were a combined 7 interceptions and 11 fumbles in the game, including 2 pick sixes by the Tritons. So yeah, it was. It might have been somewhat close in the first half, but it was all Tritons in the second half.
Yeah, let's talk about some stats real quick we got here. For the victors, the Tritons quarterback Fred Payton was 17 of 29 for 154 yards. He threw for 6 touchdown passes in this game, but he also threw 4 interceptions. He had 2 rushes for 6 yards. Wide receiver Darius Prince, the GOAT, 4 catches for 64 yards. He had a pair of touchdowns. And wide receiver Quintavious Workman had 3 catches for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Wolfpack side of things, quarterback Ed Crouch, 13 of 27, 155 yards, a pair of touchdown passes, 3 interceptions. He also had a touchdown on the ground as he rushed for 7 times and 16 yards. And then wide receiver Deshaun Williams of the Wolfpack had 7 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. So, got to feel bad for them Wolfpack, though. But Corpus Christi playing their first team not named the Salina Liberty. They came out and dropped 61 points on this team.
Yeah, and Corpus Christi was on the road and still improved to 3-0 on the season. So, good for them. One of only 2 undefeated teams right now in the AF1.
They certainly are. And look, I'm not sure still what to make of this Corpus Christi team because now you beat up on a Wolfpack team that's been up and down. They've shown flashes of being really good. I like Ed Crouch. He can make some plays on his feet, but it hasn't really translated to a whole lot of W's for the Wolfpack yet. So my opinion of the Tritons is still, I gotta wait and see what more. I need more of a sample size from them. They got some games coming up that'll test them, so we'll see how they do. Wolfpack, I mean, they still got room to improve. The biggest issue for a team like the Wolfpack and some of these other teams is just sticking together a more consistent performance. You can't have 2 quarters in a 4-quarter game where you go goose egg. The second and fourth quarter, they scored nothing, no points.
Yep.
You can't do that. And to allow a team like the Tritons to score 21 points in the second quarter and then 27 points in the fourth quarter without being able to respond to it or match them point for point, it's not good. And then in the end, it's going to end in a 40-point loss.
Yeah.
So through their 3 games, though, Corpus Christi is averaging 50.7 points per game, while through their 4 games, the Wolfpack is averaging 28 points a game. Corpus Christi, that's pretty good to hang with the top of the league, I think. But for the Wolfpack, we talked about it with that with the first game, you gotta get those points per game up. You cannot be under probably 40 points a game and hope to, have a shot at beating some of these top tier teams in the AF1. So, anything else from this game before we move on?
Nope.
Okie dokie. All right, we'd like to take this little break to talk to you guys and remind you about our social media page. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. The links will be down in the description below. Also down below this video, if you're watching on YouTube, you will find links to our merch store over at TeePublic, where you can find shirts like I Heart the Deuce. Well, they can't find Randy's shirt. Randy's is a special shirt we got for just the World of Football crew. But I Heart the Deuce, if you watch Arena and indoor football, you know what the Deuce is, and you love the Deuce as much as me because I can't tell you when a deuce happens. I mean, this is why kickers in this league and other indoor leagues are important, because those 2 points can make or break a game. They can change it, and so the kicker is a very vital part of the game. I love when I can see a kickoff and the game starts off with a deuce. That's
Yeah.
extra special. But just anytime it happens, it is just so fun. And it's fun to say, I heart the deuce. Go get your t-shirt over at T Public. Look for the World of Football. All right. Anything else
Such a
from you?
salesman. No,
I try to be.
I'm speechless. Just keep on going.
All right. And we have other indoor and arena shirts, guys, you could get over there as well, such as our Show Us Your Nets. That's the other shirt for arena. Go get it. Okie dokie. Week 5 in the AF1 capped off with their nationally televised game on Vice TV. This one saw the Albany Firebirds take care of business against the Billings Outlaws, 62-24. Bit of a shock here, not gonna lie. Before we dive into this one, because this game was crazy for all the weirdest reasons.
Yeah.
I did say last week we brought up that I did say that Billings was the better team. And Albany came out and showed up. Ain't no bones about it. Ain't gonna mince words. Albany showed up to play. In their nice orange uniforms, by the way. Those looked really nice. Probably be better with the black pants, but I digress. And the fact that they kind of look like the Minnesota Myths
Minnesota Myth. Yeah.
jerseys. I don't know if there's an issue there or not, guys, but it's a discussion for another day, I suppose. Anyway, this game, though. Going into it, I don't know if you saw the fun video of the owners of the two teams talking about their little bet.
Yes, I did.
What is it? They're going to wear a car wrap on their car for.
Yep. Losing owner has their car wrapped in the other team's logo.
Yep. So that'll be fun to see. Poor Steven Titus is going to have a Firebird mobile. But so let's talk about this crazy game. When I tuned in, because I was a little late, we went to a UFL game, so I was late getting home and starting the game up. When I turned it on, I believe it was 21-0 in favor of Albany, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What have I missed? And it's just absolute insanity. Dad, what can you tell us? How did this game go?
Oh, man. I think Albany had the ball first, and they were marching their way down the field, and I can't remember if it was a turnover or fourth down, whatever, but it was Billings. Billings was moving the ball down.
I was wondering. I was like, okay, come on.
Yeah. Billings was moving the ball, couldn't score, and next thing you know, Albany is up 14-0. Just boom, 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 just like that. I think they recovered a ball and it was like on the 1 yard line, so they only had 1 yard to go. I think they had 2 touchdowns and all they had was 2 plays. They had only run 2 plays and scored twice. So I mean, it was just crazy right from the start. They were up 21-0 in the second quarter before Billings even got on the scoreboard. So yeah, then it was 21-7. Albany then returned the ensuing kickoff for a touchdown. They went up 35-7 at halftime. Just absolutely crazy. This was a nightmare of a first half for Billings, and it didn't get much better in the second half. Albany led 49-19 after 3 quarters and cruised to a 62-24 win. There were 4 turnovers in the game by Billings, 0 for Albany. I mean, that was part of it, but boy, oh boy, just everything went Albany's way, and everything went against Billings in this game.
Well, Albany did have a turnover. We'll talk about that because Sam Castronova, quarterback for the Firebirds, went 10-19, 129 yards. He threw 4 touchdowns and had 1 interception during that game. 4 rushes for 19 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground there. Wide receiver Dwayne Brown of the Firebirds had 6 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown, and wide receiver Darian Townsend had 2 catches for 36 yards, both of those catches for touchdowns. On the Billings side of things, Braden Wingle was 12 of 21 for 155 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 rushes for 12 yards. And the wide receiver Jevin Fred of the Outlaws had 6 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown. Now, the kicker for the Firebirds was hitting the iron. That ball was bouncing around. It was just the onside kicked it at one point and got it back too. It was just nothing the Outlaws could match what the Firebirds were doing. Yeah. It was seriously just a series of just, how is this happening? It was everything
Yeah.
that could go wrong did go wrong for
Yes.
Billings, a very good
Yeah.
team that I think Albany got their revenge from the championship game last year. They clearly had their sight set on taking this Billings team out, and that's what they did. Billings
Yeah.
had no answer for anything, and while they're going to rematch next week, and we'll talk about that, it's just Billings got to find some answers. I still think Billings is a good team. They just,
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a game, especially in arena. This reminded me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, if you remember this, I want to say 2002, no, 2007 playoff game between the Dallas Desperados and the Columbus Destroyers. The heavily favored Desperados lost to the Destroyers. The Destroyers, everything went their way. Balls went off of the net, off of the iron, and just helped the Destroyers get to the victory. And I think the Destroyers eventually went on to play in that Arena Bowl that year
Hmm.
because they were a bottom seeded team that year, if I remember correctly. I'm sure there's an arena historian that could confirm all that. But I'm pretty sure it was 2007. 2007. I want to say when that happened, and this is what it gave me. This is the vibes I got, was that it was just all of that just coalesced into just Billings not being able to do much. Albany is as a very good team. I won't say they got very fortunate bounces because they did, but they prove why they're the better team right now. We are 5 weeks into the season, 6 weeks into the season. A lot can change from now to the end of the year, but Albany put their stamp on them being, and I will say this with confidence, the best team in the AF1. I'm allowed to change my opinion based on new data. So right now, Albany is, and that's not a slight to the Outlaws organization. They could still bounce back next week. We'll see how that goes in Billings. It should be an interesting game.
Yeah, one thing I did notice in the early part of the game, on both of the drives where Albany scored touchdowns, there were some obvious penalties that I saw that were not called. And later on, I thought, oh my gosh, the refs are all pro Albany, but that wasn't the case because little later on, there was an obvious penalty on Billings that they did not call either. So the referees were really not calling much in the way of penalties early in the game. And I thought that was just kind of strange because I expected this game to be a high scoring shootout where the winner was the team that had the ball last. That's the kind of game I was expecting because going into this game, Albany was 3-0 and Billings was 2-0. So you got a couple of undefeated teams, one the defending champion, a rematch of the championship game. We expected more from this game, and boy, we did not get it.
It definitely didn't go the way we thought. High scoring for the Albany side of things.
Yeah.
Billings, like I said, it was just a bunch of weird literal bounces for them.
Yeah.
That kind of pushed the ball in Albany favor. But I also want to bring up, you talked about the referees, and I thought they were swallowing their whistles too quite a bit from what I was watching until they had to step in and play mom.
Yeah.
And after a little skirmish kind of broke out, they kind of threw personal foul penalties at everybody, which I was like,
Yep.
what's going to happen here? So they threw out personal foul penalties to pretty much everybody. Like, hey, all you got a personal foul penalty. The next one that happens, you're going to your room, you're not getting dinner, and that's it for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the third quarter, a player for Albany had I won't say it was a cheap personal foul, but they flagged him for a personal foul, and he got ejected from the game. So they stuck to their word. They said, hey, you're gone. So you can't argue with that. But at that point, Albany was up by quite a bit. So I'm sure this guy,
Yeah.
they said during the broadcast that they're probably going to bench him anyway and let him rest. So I don't know. I just thought the refs having to step in there was interesting. I figured it would get a little heated there. This is probably the rivalry of the AF1 right now, which is only going to make next week's game a little more interesting.
Yeah.
But also, let's bring up. Oh, what do you got? I saw you do the whole gasping for air thing. Like you want to step in.
I was thinking the broadcast crew was not your typical Vice crew with Ari.
That's what I was going to go with. Yep.
Cedric Bon. Okay, and we never saw them on screen. We heard their voices. I couldn't even tell you who they were. You know who one of the guys is, but
yeah, Gaz from Levac and Gaz.
They never showed them on TV at all. So I don't know if they were actually at the game or what, but I just thought that was odd.
It was odd, but I feel like it was I think both those guys are Albany guys because Gaz does a local Albany radio show with the president of the team, Jeff Levac. Jeff Levac obviously does the podcast for the AF1. So I just thought it was weird giving them the broadcast, like a local team doing the broadcast, which is fine. I just thought it was odd. They put out a press release about it earlier in the week, and no Sofia Gutierrez on the sideline.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really strange. They had a different sideline guy, and he's the only one on camera they showed. I thought he did a fine job, but I don't know. I thought it was odd. I didn't hate the guy's broadcast. Like, it just, I don't know. It wasn't said, and it wasn't Ari, and I just don't. I hate change, and I wanted them covering this game. I would have loved their perspective on things, but I won't say it felt skewed Albany's way, but a tiny bit it felt a little skewed for Albany's perspective. I mean, they tried their best to kind of hit both sides, but it did feel very Albany skewed for your
Yeah.
nationally televised game. And I don't know if I like that or not.
Yeah. Yeah, this was just such a weird game as far as all the penalties and the weird things that happen. You know, you expect maybe a few things to happen during a game, but my gosh, it was like almost every drive something weird was happening uh, both ways, and it was
Yeah.
just crazy, just a crazy game.
Yep. And before we move on, the Firebirds are now averaging through their 4 games 59.75 points per game. So they're almost up to 60 points a game, while the Billings Outlaws are averaging 54.33 points per game through their 3 games. So this game obviously hurt their average a little bit, but still two of the higher scoring teams in the AF1. Anything else before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. And then on by the Nashville Cats and Oregon Lightning. So, taking a quick look at the standings after 5 weeks or 6 weeks of arena football play, the Firebirds sit at the top there with their 4-0 record, followed by the Corpus Christi Tritons, also unbeaten at 3-0. The Billings Outlaws slide down to the 3 spot with a 2-1 record. At number 4, the Southwest Kansas Storm at 3-2, and then at number 5, you got the Nashville Cats at 1-2. The Washington Wolfpack and Oregon Lightning sitting at 1-3 apiece, and at the bottom there, 0-4, the Salina Liberty. All right, let's talk about the games that are coming up this week. We have 4 games, a full slate. First time this
Yeah.
season, we'll have all 8 teams in
Yep.
action. This should be a great weekend. Thursday is going to start things off as the Nashville Cats will travel to Washington to take on the Wolfpack. That game obviously will be on Evergreen now. Then we have to wait till Saturday to where we get a doubleheader. I think these games are kickoffs like a half hour apart, so you can go between 2 games Saturday night. The first one being the Oregon Lightning going to Salina to take on the Liberty. And then the second game will be the Southwest Kansas Storm traveling to Corpus Christi to take on the Tritons. And then the rematch Sunday night on Vice TV. We'll see the Albany Firebirds traveling to Billings to take on the Outlaws. Can Billings bounce back after that atrocious performance? Will their Nets be a little more troublesome than Albany's Nets and give the Firebirds a fit? We shall see. And we'll
Yeah.
finally get to see Billings in their home uniforms, I assume.
Yeah, this is Billings' first home game of the season. They've been on the
Yep.
road the whole time, and so this will be their first home game. Hopefully, the crowd will be upset with last week's game, and they'll all show up, and they will all let Albany know what they feel about last week's game.
I hope so too. I'm very anxious to see Billings host their home game. I know Steve Titus has been waiting, chomping at the bit to get his team in their building. And from here on out, I think Billings has got quite a few home games, so they
Yeah.
should have a little bit of home field advantage, hopefully, going forward for them.
Yep.
All right. And as far as I can tell, no news this week, really. No big announcements, no big
No.
stories. So, makes it for several weeks now. The league has been quiet. Still no word on the championship game title or anything yet. We're still waiting on
Right.
that, but
Right.
we got a few weeks before being worried about that. But otherwise, I think
Sure.
the league is just chugging along at a very nice pace. So yeah, anything else before we wrap up? Any other closing thoughts?
No, I'm good. I think I said everything I wanted to say this time.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned to this channel for more AF1 recaps and other football goodness as the arena, indoor, and spring football season marches forward. We'll see you guys next time on the World of Football. And remember, I heart the deuce. Go buy a shirt.
Show us your nets.
Rant.